So good morning, those of you who are joining us. Well, not good morning, I should say. It's morning for me here in Qatar, but I know we've got people joining from all over the world, so I should rather say welcome. Welcome to all of you. We have started the event a little bit early because a fantastically huge number of people have actually signed up for this event. So we want to give everyone a chance to trickle in before we actually start the main event and get to the juicy content coming up. So once again, welcome to all of you. You will notice that your cameras are muted. Cameras are off and your microphones are muted. So don't worry, you will have a chance to ask questions later. But in the meantime, please do drop a little message in the chat, say hello, say where you're from. We do like to know where all our participants are from and have a chance to say hello to everyone. And for you to, of course, use the chat to engage together. We will be starting properly in a few more minutes, so I will just burble on until we do. Once again, for those of you who are coming in now, welcome. We're really excited to see you. Thank you so much for joining us all over the world. I know for some of you it's very late at night, and for some of you like myself, it is very early in the morning. So we really appreciate you joining and taking the time to come and be with us for this event. And we hope that everyone will have a lot of interesting things to ask. Again, welcome. Nice to see the numbers trickling up. As I mentioned before, to those of you who are just coming in, please do say hello in the chat from wherever you are. We do want to know where everyone is and where you're coming from. It's really nice for us to see everything. So welcome to all of you. I can see you're adding messages in the chat. Welcome from myself and from all of our panelists. We're absolutely thrilled to have so many of you here from so many places. I think this is a record for us so far from regards to registrations. So we're thrilled that so many of you have come and joined us. Once again, for those of you who are trickling in, and apologies to those of you who already heard me say this, welcome to this event. We will be starting shortly. We're just allowing the large number of people who registered to join us. And in the meantime, please do take the opportunity to write a message in a chat for those of you who might not be familiar with Zoom, though I imagine most of us are by now. But the chat is the single speech bubble, so please do put welcome notes and engage with each other during the talk in the single speech bubble in the chat. We will have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the event, so if you have any questions, do put those in the Q&A section. That is the double chat bubble. I'll run through all of this again formally in a second anyway. But yes, welcome to all of you. I can see so many people messaging in the chat. Welcome again. And once again, for those of you who are just joining, we will be starting shortly. And thank you so much for joining us from all over the world. I know it is very early and very late for an awful lot of people. So we really do appreciate you being here. We will get started shortly, just to give people time to finish logging in. Is one of the drawbacks of Zoom, that it does take a little time to let large numbers of people jump into the room. Unfortunately, it's not instantaneous for everyone. And in the meantime, also do go get yourself a coffee if you want. We won't be starting for another 1 or 2 minutes. But in the meantime, once again, welcome to everyone, and we will be starting shortly. Welcome once again to those of you who are saying hello in the chat. It's so nice. There's so many people. I think we've had already in the last 2 minutes, we've had welcome messages from almost every continent. This is really great to see. Thank you. So we will be starting on time, well, relatively on time, because we have a really rich program and not very much time to get through it. So while people are just finishing off trickling in, we'll just start with a brief spot of housekeeping, and then we will pass over to our first speaker. So first of all, once again, welcome to all of you who are joining us from so many places. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here. I'm Emily Chinowski. I am moderating this session. I'm Chief Academic Officer at Knology and Director of Operations for Form, which is an initiative on our philanthropic side. And we are really excited to have you all here today. This is a topic that is very close to the heart of an awful lot of what we do, and is, as you will hear shortly, the particular baby of our boss and CEO, Cameron Cardan, who I'll introduce in a minute. Research in the age of AI. I think it's obviously a hugely important topic. It's very fast moving, and you'll hear some of the experts talk about some of those trends over the next hour. And it's It's a very contentious topic as well, and I'm also really keen to hear what everyone has to say about some of the challenges involved in that, because obviously it's not all positive, and I think there's a huge number of issues that people are addressing, and that's part of what's going to be so interesting to discuss today is the tools and the processes we use to address some of those challenges and treat them. We're talking in our capacity for this event as Zendy. Zendy is one of the sort of products, platforms, and sister companies of Knowledge. It's an AI-powered research library where you can read, cite, and download open access and paywalled research from some of the world's leading publishers. If you don't know about it, I really suggest you go and check it out. I use it regularly as an independent scholar. I find it invaluable for my research, particularly for areas outside my standard area of library access. So it is a real asset for everyone. So do go and have a look later. You'll be learning an awful lot about it in the coming hour. And onto the housekeeping side, as I mentioned already, do feel free to use the chat. Please use the chat. Use the chat to discuss the event, use the chat to engage with what people are saying and responding, but do please keep the Q&A for the actual questions. If you have a specific question for the panelists, please do switch to the Q&A. That's the double speech bubble at the bottom. Forgive me, it's rather early for me. Because if you message in the chat, a question will probably get lost because, as you can see, there's a large number of attendees and everyone is very chatty. There is a recording of the event, and at the end of the event, there will be a short survey. Please, if you appreciate everyone's very, very busy, and some of you might be desperate to get to work, others of you might be really desperate to go to sleep by the end of this. But please do take the time to fill in the survey if you have the chance, because it's great for us to know what else people might want to hear about the next time we do one of these webinars, but also any suggestions for improvement are also hugely appreciated. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Cameron Cardan, who is the CEO of Knowledge and co-founder of Zendy and my boss. And he will be discussing the shifting landscape of AI and what we can expect to see in the future. So I will hand over to Cameron.
Let me unmute first, as a rule. Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. It's fascinating to see so many individuals from around the world saying hello from various countries. I saw Canada, Mexico, US, Philippines, Pakistan, Indonesia, Zimbabwe. So many countries represented today. So it's fascinating to see. So a huge welcome. What I'll start discussing is I have some slides, but the biggest part of our discussion would be in our interaction and the QA at the end of it. I'm not going to go through so many slides. You've all heard a lot about AI, what it is. It's not something new. It's been around for quite some time. Things have only fast forwarded recently after OpenAI and AI becoming into the streamline with when it became available, when things became a little bit more affordable and accessible, and as technology has advanced, we've seen this trend in many different technologies. There were the days that, for example, mobile phones was only used by a certain number of individuals. Internet was scarce, even though it's still scarce in some places of the world. But technology has been fast evolving, and the same with AI, and we've seen a lot of it recently. But before, we've seen AI used in education, in the use of automated grading systems. We've seen AI used in research discovery through machine learning and natural language processing to really customize various search results. And various aspects of publishing has been using AI to a certain extent, but not to the extent of what we see today. There isn't a week that goes by, or sometimes even days, where a new product, feature, service has been announced and is used. I was trying to do a repost with regards to the event on LinkedIn, and I saw a LinkedIn button suggesting, do I want to rewrite this using AI? So it's on LinkedIn as well. So it's basically everywhere. And it's now our role and responsibility to be able to utilize this in the best way and to be able to understand and navigate through this fast growing landscape. I'm talking here today as the capacity of an entrepreneur who's using AI technology to further develop the services and the offering that we have with Zendy. So if we can go to the next slide, please. The whole idea of Zendy in essence was to create a platform to reduce inequalities to accessing scholarly literature. Since last year and seeing the benefits of AI, we decided to really add this dimension to the work that we're doing in order to facilitate research and discovery and make the whole experience for researchers and scholars and lifelong learners much, much easier. But in general, when we look at the use of AI, the benefits and the challenges, some of the benefits that I would like to highlight is basically the ability to be able to take a vast amount of data and identify trends, commonalities, and links among this data, analyze that data, understand that data. One very important benefit that is very close to me is the facilitation and ability to do interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. It is made much, much easier with the use of AI. So, for example, let's look at our global challenges. Let's look at COVID, for example. It's not something that could be solved using a single discipline. You've got healthcare involved, you've got economists scratching their heads, there's a social sciences side, humanities take part, urban planning, so on and so forth. And one element, of course, is setting that interdisciplinary mindset in our teaching and research among higher education institutions. Technology is making this much, much easier as well. So the ability to be able to learn about areas that are not our speciality is something that is definitely one of the huge benefits of AI. You ask the question, I'll give the answer, and I will explain it to you in simple terms. So you're able to gain a deeper knowledge in various areas in less time. Even in your own field, long gone are the days that you have to go for 40 research papers to be able to understand what it is about. You click an AI summary button, and that 40, 50, 60-page article is summarized in just seconds. So when it comes to productivity and the use of time, AI has really enabled us to be more efficient and to have better use of that time. Of course, even in academic writing, there are tools to help us, assist us with writing. We've seen, for example, tools like Grammarly in the past, which were facilitating writing in different areas. But now that has been expanded to so many tools that are analyzing citations, for example, giving you an idea if a citation is a positive citation or a negative citation. There are tools that can, for example, compare various research studies, and the list goes on and on. Of course, with any tool, when are there benefits, there's definitely challenges and considerations. And I think one of the biggest consideration when it comes to AI is the ethical consideration. And like any other tool, I think it's important for organizations and companies that are involved in the domain to really set their intentions and their direction and share that and be visible with what they plan to do with AI. I think we're one of the first, not first companies, but one of the few companies in the scholarly communication area that have actually announced that AI policy. And that was something that we announced a week back. And it's important to have, yeah, you can see the statement using this QR code. So it's very important to share the direction, the intention that is behind the development of the various products that we are developing. So there was only a couple of other. We all know about the bias and the basically, you know, with AI, it's jargon in, jargon out. So if you don't have the right data sets and the right data points, a lot of the information that comes out of it could be misguided, biased, and hallucinated. So this is work that is really at the core of a lot of companies, what they're trying to do to really reduce these hallucinations, fine tune the results. And I know that our technical team have this very close to their hearts and minds, and that's something that they're hugely focusing in order to enhance that learning experience when it comes to individuals. That's the whole intention, to be able to use AI as a tool that it's meant to be. When we're talking about the future, there's an analogy that I always use. So back in the day, if you wanted to research a specific area, you would go and identify the top books, textbooks, the articles around it, and probably will even have a stack of like 10, 15 books beside you and various articles you were printing out in order to find an answer to the question. Now imagine walking into a sophisticated library, right, where there's a wealth of knowledge. And instead of identifying books or articles, you just ask a question. And the answer will come from that vast amount of literature, research, and studies that is available. Now, imagine that in a higher education institute where you've got the library, you get all the answers from the library. Now, add to that all the learning material that is available on the LMS or the LXP. Add your policies and guidelines. Add your repository, all your findings. Add your lab results, your experiments, and all the other research data. And then ask that question. Imagine how more valuable the answer would be. So that's the direction that we're going in order to support academia and higher education institutions. But in the process, we can definitely support publishers, especially smaller and medium publishers who are on this journey and they're trying to get to the technology. Of course, the larger players, we saw Scopus announcing Scopus AI already. There's also Clinical Key AI. So some of the larger publishers have the facilities and the power to be able to develop the technology. But for some of the smaller society publishers, maybe that's not an easy thing to do. So that's the direction that we're going to support publishers, independent research institutions, consultants, to really use the power of AI and our AI assistant. And higher education institutions are at the heart of what we do. So we see a lot of collaboration along academia and the corporate world in order to build solutions to be able to facilitate, as I said, access to research, learning, and lifelong learning. So that's over from my side, and looking forward to the rest of the conversation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Cameron. I think that was a really, really great start. I'm sure we'll all agree. It's really nice scene setting and showing some of the scope of both the problems that everyone's trying to solve and also some of those really groundbreaking solutions out there and more to come. Now it is my particular pleasure to introduce Leo Lowe. He is Dean of the College of University Libraries and Learning Sciences at the University of New Mexico. And he will be discussing the importance of AI literacy, which is a really interesting topic and one that's been coming up a lot at a lot of conferences we've been attending. And he's going to really look at some of the key competencies for librarians. So Leo, I will hand over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Emily. And I'd just like to say thank you to Zendy for organizing this webinar and having me here. And it's great to see so many people from so many different places. My name is Leo Lo, and I am the Dean of Libraries at the University of New Mexico. And I'm also the President-elect and Vice President of the Association of College and Research Libraries, ACRL, which is one of probably the biggest association for academic librarians in the US. So before I begin, I'd just like to ask you a quick question. Do we have any librarians in the audience today? So if you're a librarian, just type it in the chat, where do you work? Just to let me know. But as you're typing it in, I'm going to get the talk started. So Emily mentioned I'll be talking about AI literacy. So why AI literacy matters? So I think it's a fair question to ask. I mean, even just a couple of years ago, not that many people have even heard of the term AI literacy, But since large language models or ChatGPT became publicly accessible, it's an important topic. So let's look at some of the more influential reports. So McKinsey, which is one of the biggest consulting firms in the world, they release these reports, and they released one last year on generative AI and how it's impacting different sectors, different industries. And in it really emphasizes the importance of AI literacy for educators and for students. And the report found that AI can be used to improve teaching and learning in a number of ways. For example, automating administrative tasks. There's some, we all want that to do all the tedious tasks for us. But the really exciting parts are personalized learning. Students can have a very patient tutor to help them, tailor-made instruction for them and help them learn in their own specific ways. Also, it can provide instant feedback. Imagine writing or doing homework in a class, and it would take weeks for your teacher to return your grades or feedback to you. Now you have an opportunity to get really quick instant feedback so they can keep improving very quickly. You don't have to wait anymore. So these are just some of the things the report talked about. But basically, it's saying that AI literacy will become essential for students to succeed in the future workforce. And as AI becomes more prevalent in the workplace, employees will need to be able to understand how AI works and how to use it effectively. Basically, AI can really transform a lot of industries, including education and learning. Now, if you look at the World Economic Forum report on the future of jobs, it emphasized the importance of reskilling and upskilling the workforce to really adapt to this new landscape of AI-driven world. AI and big data skills are in high demand. Upskilling is essential for the existing workforce. You have probably heard the popular saying, AI is not going to replace people, but people who don't use AI will probably be replaced by people who use AI. So it is really important for us, especially educators, to promote that, to help people gain the skills that they need to really, be a productive member of the workforce. And also governments and businesses need to invest in reskilling and upskilling. And basically the report concludes that reskilling is essential for ensuring a smooth transition to the future of work. Finally, because we're educators, we look at the US Department of Education's report on AI in education. It's titled Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Teaching and Learning, Insights and Recommendations. Basically, it's very similar to what the McKinsey report talked about, very similar to the World Economic Forum's report. AI literacy is essential for all learners, and reskilling, upskilling necessary for the education workforce. And AI can be a very powerful tool for improving education. So we're looking at these kind of more general suggestions, guidance from governments, from businesses to see where we should position ourselves. So back in May 2023, I conducted basically a national survey, although we included some Canadian respondents, national survey of US academic library employees, and kind of get a sense of where they are, their AI literacy level, how they use AI, how they perceive this new technology. At that time, ChatGPT was all the rage. It's in the headlines every day. It still is, really, but it's really disrupting the education sector because it's students are using it, but the teachers are not really. That survey, we got about 700 something respondents. So here are some of the findings. They really have a really modest, self-rated understanding of AI concepts, with maybe some higher comprehension for simpler concepts, but for anything kind of higher than machine learning, the term machine learning, more than that, people were like, I don't know what that is. They have a basic kind of desire to learn more about it, but they have limited hands-on experience with AI software. It's found that about 37% of the employees have used AI in their work, but only 16-17% of the people have used generative AI tools. So this lack of hands-on experience suggests that employees need more opportunities to practice using AI tools. And then there are gaps in ethical considerations. Ethical issues, data privacy, data securities are major concerns for employees, highlighting the need for training and guidelines for ensuring responsible and ethical use of AI. This is one of the highest, response rate for the questions. 75% of the employees are concerned about the ethical implications of using AI. So librarians, we take that very seriously. And right now, there's just a lot of unknown. So people are naturally concerned. And at that point in May, there's definitely a low readiness for AI implementations. They found that about 33% of the employees, they feel only a third of them felt adequately prepared to use generative AI tool in their work. Once again, it's just they need more support and training. Definitely a lot of people ask for or demand AI training, and 85% of them interested in receiving AI training, and 73% interested in training on the capabilities of AI. And then we also asked them, what kind of format do you want? They prefer flexible and remote learning formats for AI training, online courses, webinar like this one, self-paced modules. We found that about 26% of the employees prefer online webinars, so quite a quarter of them. And at that point, generative AI tools are not frequently used professionally. I think there's a lot of growth opportunity there. But from this survey, this study, I identified several areas of AI literacy or AI competencies, as I would like to call them, that is actually what's needed for library workers, that there's something they want to learn more. So here's the 7 competencies. First is understanding AI system capabilities and limitations. It's really about recognizing what AI can and cannot do, and also knowing its strengths and weaknesses. And competency 2 is identifying and evaluating AI use cases. What that means is discovering potential AI applications in library settings, assessing the feasibility and potential benefits of AI use cases. And 3, utilizing AI tools effectively and appropriately. So applying AI technologies to enhance library operations, and also ensuring that these AI tools are used in a responsible and ethical manner. 4, critically assessing AI quality, biases, and ethics. So it's really about identifying, mitigating those ethical concerns related to AI use. And the 5th one is be able to engage in informed AI discussions and collaborations. They want to be able to participate in discussions about AI in the library context, and also collaborating with colleagues and external stakeholders on AI-related projects. For example, at my own university, there are a lot of faculty who are definitely way ahead in their AI knowledge. They would need librarians to help them with certain aspects of using AI. And also there are a lot of faculty who have no knowledge of it. That means the librarians need to be able to talk with them and discuss with them as well. And competency 6 is recognizing data privacy and security issues. It's really understanding these issues related to AI and also implementing measures to ensure the privacy and security of data used by AI. And finally, anticipating AI's impact on library stakeholders. We want to prepare for the potential impact of AI on both library users and our staff. So we need to be able to develop strategies to mitigate negative impacts and really maximize benefits. In addition to this study, I also work with the Association of Research Libraries, which is another big association of the biggest research libraries in America and Canada, about 130 of those. They range from like Harvard, the Ivy League, to my university and others, university. These are the ones that probably have the most resources to adopt new technology. And these are the places where they're probably the faculty who have the most demand for these. So we did 2 quick polls, one in April and one in December last year. We just polled the library directors. These are the leaders of these 130 or so libraries. Not everybody responded. The first one, only 20 people responded back in April. So they were not that first of all, aware or even interested at that point. But by December, we more than tripled the amount of respondents, showing that it has become quite an important topic for these big library directors. So here are some of the kind of key findings from these 2 surveys. It's definitely a shift in attitudes towards AI. So their view evolved from that back in April, from like cautious optimism to really increased confidence in AI's transformative potential in just 9 months. And also progress in AI integration in their own libraries. So some libraries showed a notable shift from just exploring to implementing AI solutions, indicating active engagement with AI technologies. And also different diverse AI applications. They highlighted various AI applications relevant to libraries, including AI-assisted research instruction, automated cataloging, and chatbots for user support. And then we asked them about AI in information literacy programs, how to incorporate this new technology in teaching our users how to use or evaluate information. And there was a progression from just recognizing the need for AI in information literacy programs to actively developing AI literacy initiatives. And even the staff attitudes have changed. We asked the library directors, how are the people, your employees, see AI? So library employees' attitudes towards AI evolved from skepticism and caution to definitely more acceptance and understanding. I would say, influenced by more training and more exposure. We asked them about long-term impact on operations and services, and they anticipated AI streamlining quite a bit of library operations and really transforming user services, but with ongoing ethical and privacy considerations. So that's pretty standard among all library people. Also, collaborative approaches in AI discussions. libraries, these academic libraries are increasingly involved in collaborative AI initiatives on campus, taking more central roles in university-wide AI strategies. For example, in my own college or libraries is really taking a leadership role at my university. Even their own libraries have personal views have changed, influenced by, I think, real-world AI applications and developments in libraries. We asked them for, recommendations for AI integration. So suggestions include developing AI literacy programs, forming AI-focused committees for strategic integrations of AI in library services. So some additional points. The surveys revealed I would say, a complex landscape where attitudes towards AI really influence the extent of its exploration and implementation within libraries. And also it highlights the importance of collaborations and community engagement in this AI journey, and definitely a consistent emphasis on AI literacy and ethical considerations across these surveys to definitely, I think, points to an evolving role for libraries to foster these digital and AI competencies. So what's next? Several things actually that I'm actually personally involved with. One is ARL, which I just mentioned, Associations of Research Libraries, and CNI, another big, more tech-focused network of mostly libraries and IT people. These two organizations formed a joint task force on scenario planning on AI and machine learning futures, which I'm a member of. Basically, we've started working on a 6-month initiative to develop a set of possible future scenarios examining how AI and machine learning might transform the research enterprise, not just libraries, but the entire research enterprise. So we hope that these scenarios will be helpful to first of all, our member institutions and the broader community in understanding, planning for, and exploring the implications of these technologies. We are more than halfway through, and we have a CNI meeting in March, which we will share some of the draft scenarios. And then in May, there's an ARL meeting in May, and which will show the final scenarios and the versions of it. And after that, we're hopefully get a grant for the second part of that, which is using these scenarios to develop toolkits for different libraries and different communities to help them plan for their own future. Second part, ACRL, which I mentioned earlier too, I'm the president-elect of the Association of College and Research Libraries, and I am establishing, or at least I'm proposing to the board to establish a task force for AI competency for library workers. So we want to develop a set of basic comprehensive AI competencies for library workers so that we can help them gain those competency. Then finally, at my own university, I'm leading the AI, we call it AI empowerment initiatives, basically, is to enhance AI literacy across the university, equipping faculty, students, and staff with the skill sets and knowledge that I just talked about. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and be happy to answer some of your questions in a little bit. So let me pass it back to Emily.
Thank you so much, Leo. That was absolutely fascinating. I particularly liked the survey in the way, even in this very short space of time, it's really interesting to see how people's views and responses have changed. So now it is time for our last speaker. I apologize, we're running slightly behind schedule, but fear not, there will still be a little time for questions at the end. So Rodrigo Pinto is Chief Technology Officer at Zendy, and he is now going to discuss how large language models can be used to help researchers. So Rodrigo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Emily. And hi, everybody. I'm really glad to see so many people connected from all over the world. So thank you for assisting to this webinar. And we save the best for last, I guess. And yeah, so I'll be discussing about giving a brief explanation about LLM. So I assume probably most of you by now know what an LLM is. But we know LLM stands for large language model, but that doesn't tell much of the story. The definition says it's a type of artificial intelligence designed to understand and generate human language, right? So I put an analogy, and it's imagine it as a highly advanced digital librarian that has read a vast amount of textbooks, articles, websites, and more. And this digital librarian, so to speak, has learned from all this knowledge, but not only facts. It also have reasoning capabilities, right? It can understand the questions, it can read from external knowledge and summarize that knowledge and give it very insightful information. So basically, this LLM, it's like a really, really wise man that is capable to address anything. Think about that, like if you have a friend or an old man that has traveled all over the world, right? And it knows about so many things, right? So this person is capable to help you out with anything. It has accrued so much knowledge that can address pretty much anything. That is an LLM in a nutshell. It's a high capability model that can understand human language and has been trained with millions and millions of records of data out there. That's in a nutshell. Next slide, please. Now we're going to talk about ZAIA, which is our AI assistant. So initially, Zendy mission it's to make academic content accessible. But we thought this is maybe not enough, right? Because let's say you you ask questions like, and Zendy is like a search discovery tool, right? And if you ask, for example, give me the most relevant papers in geology, right? If you do that even through Google, through a simple search, you won't get relevant results. You need something on top of that to give you a more detailed explanation to understand what you are looking for, look it up for you, and then give it back the result. So that's why we came out with ZAIA, with the assistant. And now in the times of AI, we thought it was just the right time to do it. Imagine asking questions about the specific topics of papers, right? Analyze a paper itself. Analyze, for example, certain formulas, certain figures in your paper. Be able to analyze the conclusion of the paper, the relevancy. That's an extra value that a human can do, but an AI assistant can expedite it for you. Imagine generating insights from several papers to get into a conclusion, especially in the studies. Let's say you have you want to find a correlation, you want to validate an hypothesis. Imagine the amount of literature you will have to go through in order to get to this to validate this hypothesis, to find a correlation. Imagine if an AI model can do this for you. So that's what we are aiming with ZAIA, and that's what AI can do for us in research. So that was the main motivation behind us building ZAIA. Next slide, please. So now, what makes ZAIA unique? in the age of AI, we have so many LLMs out there. All of you for sure know about ChatGPT, but there are even more. Like Google had its own model, BART, and Meta, even X have its own large language model. So why ZAIA? What is unique about ZAIA? First of all, I will say that ChatGPT, for example, it's a huge model that knows a little bit of everything. And this part is important, a little bit of everything, right? So it can do anything you want. Even if you want the ChatGPT to make a song for you, maybe to make a joke, anything, right? It's like a friend, like an advisor, a knowledgeable person, as we discussed before. So there's no way we will put a model out there that will compete with that. And the knowledge and the amount of data ChatGPT has been trained with, it's like unmatchable, right? It's and it has a huge team behind it. Same with Google and other research labs. But what makes ZAIA unique is we don't want to be the biggest or the best model or the most knowledgeable. We want to be very good at one thing, not like I mentioned before, knowing a little bit of everything. We don't want ZAIA to tell you jokes. We don't want ZAIA to compose music, right? We want ZAIA to be good at one thing. That thing is research. So you name it, to tell you about explaining you about a paper, giving you the insights of a paper, or finding relevant information for your research. That's what we are aiming. And I see a lot of the solutions out there. They just use ChatGPT or similar on top, and they add a knowledge base so ChatGPT can answer. We decided not to go down that path because by building and fine-tuning our own model, we have the flexibility to work on all these challenges and this domain-specific approach that it's to follow our mission to help researchers and enthusiasts or students to accomplish their research purpose. So by building our own model, we were able to fine-tune it, modify it, making it in a way that it's, for example, any question you ask to ZAIA, it will always back it up with references. It will give you the references and it will guide you through what you need to accomplish in terms of research or analyzing specifics of a paper. So also at Zendy, we specialize our mission, as we mentioned before, it's to make research accessible to everybody, right? So that data is there. So ZAIA has the capability to access this data and answer you based on this data. So it's like not, I wouldn't say like a wise man as we did the analogy with ChatGPT, but I will say it's a very knowledgeable person or entity, let's say, that will, whenever you ask him a question, it will go to a knowledge base, in this case, our data, and give you an answer based on its finding in real time. So it's the combination of our model plus the knowledge we have, all the data, research papers we have available at Zendy. That's what makes ZAIA unique. It's just that we make it domain specific and we make it good at accessing and analyzing papers in real time from our knowledge or anything else that you can upload. As you can see in this image, you have 2 tabs in our beta ZAIA, and those are to make it conversational, or you can do a paper depth analysis. Next slide, please. Now, what are the current challenges of AI at the moment? So while LLM offer remarkable capabilities, addressing these challenges is crucial for maximizing their benefit and minimizing the risk. So let me explain you further about this. All of the models out there, without any exception, have these problems. And the challenges are basically bias, reliability, and data privacy. And you might ask yourself why these challenges are present. I always explain this, and it's a common conversation in the world of AI. You cannot say we are going to guarantee that the model doesn't have bias or that is fully reliable 100%, because there is a trade-off. The trade-off comes like how much the model can reason to give you an answer versus the risk of the model making things up, right? So the more you narrow the model reasoning skill and creativity, the less likely will be for the model to incur in these challenges. But is that what we want? It wouldn't be as an AI anymore if that were to happen. One thing you have to do is to find a decent threshold between reasoning and reliability. But still, you'll have those problems. So on top of the model, we are adding techniques that are the current state of the art to mitigate to the minimum, to nearby zero, let's say, these problems. But let me go one by one initially about the challenges, because people ask usually why, for example, the models are biased, why that cannot be sorted out. And the problem with these models, as I explained before, these large language models, these models are huge and are trained with millions and millions of records out there. And imagine there is no human capability that could check one by one all those records. It's what we call in AI weekly supervised training, which means when we say the word supervised, we mean how much we are auditing this data, right? So if you train a model with as much data out there as you can, right, that you cannot guarantee that some of those records have bias in it. Some of those records have harmful content, right? So what you can do is, on top of the model, put certain safeguards and mechanisms to avoid that. And that's why the models are biased. The other problem is the reliability, right? Reliability in the sense that not all the models, no model out there actually will give you a 100% reliable result. And that's what I was explaining before. We call it hallucinations in AI. I know it's a funny term to mention, but that's how it is known as of now. And it's about the trade-off I was mentioning before. Because behind the scenes, the model is trying its best to serve you, to answer to the best of its abilities. That's why sometimes it makes things up. But that, especially in research, that's a huge issue, because you are relying on this mechanism to give you true information, right, for your research, whatever is what you're trying to validate. So this mechanism that we have put are just to name a few, but not all of them. Safeguards, right? The safeguards are built on top of the model to avoid to detect harmful content, things that might be of no benefit for the end user. Then we have other more a slightly more technical mechanism. They are called chain of verification and chain of thought. But this, just to keep it simple, is breaking down the questions, explaining it step by step to the model to avoid confusions. Those guarantee that the reasoning of the model is correct and minimize to nearby zero all these problems. And by doing that, you will have a more reliable result. And especially the main challenges usually when you are generating references and the references are not what might be made up. That will be a huge problem when you are carrying out a research, for example. Those mechanisms are the state of the art, though. They have proved to be really reliable. All right, so next slide, please. Thank you. Now, finally, what is next for LLM? So once you have the model, as we do in ZAIA, the idea is to make the best usage. For us, for example, we determine it's not enough to have a standalone beta ZAIA page where you have it conversational or you can upload your paper. This have to be a seamless integration between our platform and ZAIA, meaning that anytime you search for something, the model will help you out. Anytime you have a search result and you're starting to see a paper, you will have ZAIA embedded, helping you analyzing the paper, highlighting things for you, generating insights, etc. Because, for example, and this is something very important when it comes to studies. We are putting some emphasis in studies. For example, you want to know quickly when you have a search result, what is this study about? Is the study relevant enough? We know in research, and so far we have the metrics for the relevancy of a paper. Basically, most of them are based on the citation count. There have been some effort to analyze if the citation is contrasting, if it is supporting evidence and whatnot. But we want to go beyond that. What if we can analyze how relevant is the study based on multiple parameters that can be analyzed in real time by a machine learning model? Saying, for example, the size of the sample. Is this a randomized controlled trial? Is this in vivo, in vitro? Is this a study cohort? Or is there a conflict of interest? If an AI tool can detect this in real time for you, then that simplifies the work. So what is next for LLM in research in a nutshell? It's seamlessly integration with research platforms where you can get relevant insights and it can really expedite your effort. So the future for LLM in research is bright, and we are, by the way, about to launch our V1 of ZAIA integrated into our platform. I invite all of you to sign up and see it for yourself. We are officially launching on the 26th. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo. That was absolutely brilliant. It's so interesting to see how the ZAIA tool is really progressing and particularly how it is allowing us to address some of those major issues around the contamination of the global scientific knowledge base with paper mills and everything. If excluding those and really only focusing on the good stuff. So first of all, for those of you who have questions about ZAIA and about Zendy, our colleague Monica will be adding information about that into the chat box shortly. Secondly, just a reminder, a recording will be available. So don't worry if you've missed anything or frantically making notes and are worried that you didn't catch a link, you will be able to review everything. Now, as most of you will probably remember, we were due to finish in a couple of seconds. So I'm about to sneeze, it's really bad. But in the interim, we have time for at least one of our moderated questions. So Rodrigo, if you could turn your video back on, come back, please. And if the three of you could unmute yourselves and we can just have a quick discussion before we wrap up. So one of the most important things I suppose is in the current climate around sustainability, around SDGs, around open science, obviously access and inequality and equitability are incredibly important and at the core of an awful lot of those cutting edge debates and developments in the academic ecosystem, in the scientific community. So and this is a question for all three of you, so you can decide which one of you gets to answer first. But how do you feel that AI can really address those pressing global challenges, such as inequality of access to research? Who wants to go first? Anyone?
I can start. Yeah. So basically, the aim of creating Zendy was to reduce inequalities on accessing scientific literature, especially when it comes to paywall content, because as we know that if you're not a part of an elite institution who enjoys a subscription to some of the larger publishers, accessing scientific literature can be expensive, $30, $40 per single article. So the whole aim was to really try and bring what the other industries have brought to the table in the music industry with Spotify. We've seen the rise of Netflix. So you no longer have to pay for a single use, you can pay for unlimited access. So we have launched that, and with the price of a single article, you now have access to content from at least 5 or 6 publishers currently, and that list is expanding. The open access component is free and available, and we're just making it more discoverable and easier to use, and that is free worldwide. And currently we're having over 500,000 users from across the globe. So that was the aim of accessibility and reducing inequalities. Now, come AI, I think the same applies with making AI affordable and not just a tool for elite. So I think the Zendy model will still continue and apply, and the pricing would be similar. And of course, there's free use as well. I think someone had asked about the current use. ZAIA is free to use on the platform as we speak. And I think AI and tools like ZAIA have a bigger role on solving global challenges and issues. And that was bringing me back to the interdisciplinary and the transdisciplinary research, and really a closer collaboration and understanding of various topics in order to solve some of the world's challenges like climate change and so on and so forth. So there's not much time, so I'll stop here.
Thank you, Cameron. And Leo?
Yeah, just very quickly, I think AI has the potential to both widen and narrow the gap. I think what Cameron just said could definitely help narrow that gap. At the same time, for librarians or libraries, we need to work very hard also with publishers who are keeping a lot of the articles behind paywalls. How can we help make sure, how can we increase the open accessness of a lot of these things so that ZAIA or Zendy can take advantage of those freely available articles for everybody, really. So that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you. Rodrigo, anything to add?
Yeah, so yeah, I think Cameron mentioned most of it, and Leo as well, but I would say in Zendy, for example, it goes with that purpose, because let's say you even have like these free tools for AI, but you also need to have the data. So the combination of both, right, is what makes it more accessible in the time of AI. So having the data at your fingertips plus the AI tool to help you out with that data, that's where you get the most value, and in terms of accessibility for everyone.
Thank you. So I'm afraid, unfortunately, we have run out of time because we had so much to talk about in all of the excellent and really rich and thought-provoking presentations this morning.